6 months ago, it was, I don't know what to say.
Mm,
Now it's, I don't have time. And there's some people that say that with sincerity in their voice,
sure.
right? It's, I'm running 12 hours a day. And my concern, and something that I've been sharing in group coaching and with my personal coaching clients, is what we do now is setting us up for success in the first quarter.
Yeah.
What we do now is setting us up for success going into winter. And what we do not know is what winter will bring. We've never had a winter with COVID before.
No.
Good morning, Amy.
Good morning.
It's always good to see you.
You too.
Very interesting topic this morning. We're going to be discussing, I just don't have time to prospect, coach. And we went from 6 months ago, maybe having too much time on our hands. And I think some people would probably look back and realize that they squandered that, but we can't go back in time. And then we got really busy, right? We found the new normal. You and I were talking about your market before you went live on the show. You can't even get a showing in Colorado Springs. It's not quite as nutty in the DC metro market. It's choppy, right? Depending on where you are in this market. High-rise condos in the city are certainly slower. Price reductions are happening. I think some people want to be out of the city right now. But agents are certainly busier than they were 4, 5, and 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So now it's, 6 months ago, it was, I don't know what to say. Now it's, I don't have time. And there's some people that say that with sincerity in their voice,
Sure.
right? It's, I'm running 12 hours a day. And my concern, and something that I've been sharing in group coaching and with my personal coaching clients, is what we do now is setting us up for success in the first quarter.
Yeah.
What we do now is setting us up for success going into winter. And what we do not know is what winter will bring. We've never had a winter with COVID before.
No.
And I saw an article, or it was something on the news, there's this big concern about the flu season and COVID kind of coming together with this, awful mix, right?
Yeah.
And I did see that in Australia, I think flu cases are down by 900% because people got the vaccine, people are social distancing, they're wearing a mask. So hopefully that takes place in this country, but we know that not everybody follows the rules here.
Depends on what state you're in.
Exactly. So that said, my concern is if we don't have time to prospect, we're not going to have the pipeline that we want. And we just don't know what winter's going to bring anyway. So I'd rather have a pipeline lined up. I was talking to somebody in group coaching this morning, actually, and she said that she was making calls yesterday and she talked to somebody, they want to put their house on the market next year, right? So she's already building her pipeline for 2021.
Yeah.
So talk to me about kind of your introductory thoughts around, Coach, I don't have time to prospect.
Well, start with a little bit of an expectation. Starting tomorrow, as of tomorrow, we have exactly 12 weeks left in the year. And 90 days is a heck of a great lead time on predicting what you're going to have. Whatever you do right now really does predict your pipeline. Now, maybe you're quicker than that. Maybe you could get on the phones and 30 days from now you would have results. But for most of us, really kicking it into gear, starting to talk to people or talk to new sources predicts how our business will be performing in 90 days. So that tells you where you're going to wake up January 1, whether or not you're going to wake up relatively unemployed and starting over or with a healthy pipeline. So I hope that inspires you, that if you would sprint through these next 12 weeks, you'll have the best first quarter of your career. But I think you make such a good point that a lot of us are sincere when we say, I have time, I'm swamped. And I thought about this topic when we decided on it together. I have a friend who currently has 11 under contract. He doesn't have a team. He doesn't have an assistant. He is really pulling his hair out because that doesn't count all the very needy buyers. And like you said, in my market, just even getting a time slot to see a new property is challenging. You're competing in such a way, the agent may rate multiple offers and lose and lose and lose. And it takes time for the buyer to believe that they're going to have to really, really swing hard to win. So agents are working hard. So in his case, I thought about him. I thought, let's take him seriously. Does he have time for lead gen? And I thought, well, sure, technically, if he wants to never walk his dog or sleep, like he really is burdened. But I want all of us to get real about what are we doing, right? And I've nagged this guy to hire an assistant for so long. So we all get 24 hours. And maybe that sounds like, yeah, I know I've heard that before, but really think about it. So take out a piece of paper, write down what you're doing, and figure out why you don't have time to prospect. Because prospecting is part of your job, and it's not a small part. And a lot of us are benefiting from the tailwinds of this crazy enthusiasm for buying homes right now. And I just want you to know that if you don't get control over the faucet, now I've got mixing my analogies with faucets and wind, but it's raining like crazy. Most agents think that they're good at their job right now because they have so much business. And I think they just happen to be standing out in the street with a bucket when it started raining.
Right. Yep.
So if you don't get control over the faucet, you may have a few lean quarters. So it's vital that you wrap your head around this. And Charlie, we can talk about all the different methods and the mindset, but that would be my jump in.
Yeah. And I think that you have to schedule it, right? We've heard from so many people, if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. You probably talk about this every week. I know I do.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to have this many conversations and I only got that many. Or, I want to try to start doing my calls at 3:00 in the afternoon. What do you think? We actually have a group that was organized by one of my coaching clients, and it's Tuesday through Friday, and they meet at 8:15. This is on Zoom, and they do a little morning huddle, and then they begin to make their calls at 8:30, and they wrap up at 9:30. And there was a little bit of pushback around, is that too early? I said, well, this guy's been doing this a while, right? So before we judge, let's jump in. And one of the agents reported that it's not too early. People are picking up their phone at 8:30. And I'm actually able to have a conversation. And the burden that is lifted from them by having their calls done by 9:30 every day, it's just huge, right? They don't walk around with this black cloud over their head thinking, oh, I didn't make my calls again today. And then another day goes by and another day goes by. So I think, starting off early-ish is one hack, because you're probably not going to be showing a home at 8:30. Maybe you're doing a home inspection at 8:30, but you're not showing a home at 8:30, more than likely, right? And when we hear that, agents, well, I want to do it in the afternoon, the reality is the events of the day do get in the way. And let's be real, if the Zillow lead calls and wants to see 123 Main Street at 3:00, and you're scheduled for your hour of power today at 3:00, you and I can talk about it until we're blue in the face, but 9 out of 10 agents are going to go show that house at 3:00.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think scheduling it, figuring out, and I'm not an advocate of the same daily schedule, the same weekly schedule. I don't think that's particularly realistic. I am an advocate of every Sunday or every Monday, mapping out your week, and you're slotting in when your hour of power is going to be based on the appointments that you already have set. You have a pretty good idea on Sunday night or Monday morning what your week's going to look like. Not exact, right? And you leave some white space, give yourself some grace, but you've got to put it in there. And I think it's got to be fairly early in the morning. And we have this accountability group. If anybody listening wants to join, let me know. We'll slot you in. Start your own group. They're talking about starting an afternoon group as well. And the idea is, if you're committing to a group, you're going to be less likely to blow it off.
Right. I love it.
Where if you're not, if your spouse, your dog, nobody knows when your hour of power is. you're not upsetting anybody except yourself by blowing it off. And if you're if you've never done it consistently before, you don't feel the heartache when you miss it, right? It's probably not scheduled anyway, right? You may pick up the phone occasionally when you're in the car and you think about someone, right? But you and I are advocates of letting our CRM dictate who we're talking to today, sitting down in front of the CRM, reviewing the notes from the last call, keeping notes for this call, asking how the new dog is, asking how, homeschooling is going. There's so many people that are doing that right now. Yep. And it sucks. And it's a great topic.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Because you know what the answer is going to be, right? So there's still really good reasons to talk to people. And I think we're going to blink and it's going to be holiday time. And you and I, it feels like yesterday, this feels like the longest year and it feels like the shortest year. I was talking to somebody this morning and she said she was walking down the street yesterday and this woman had a shirt on and all the shirt said was Tuesday. And the agent's like, that's brilliant, right? I appreciate you reminding me about, what day of the week it is because they all feel like they're the same, right? Yeah. And then the lady said, yeah, I have one for tomorrow for Wednesday too. She just wears the t-shirts every day of the week. But anyway, soon it's going to be holiday time.
Yeah.
There's no easier time to pick up the phone.
That's true.
Right? From like a week before Thanksgiving, you think, right? Until like what, 2-3 weeks into the year. I think there was a sitcom that was it Seinfeld or something else? And it was like, when do you stop telling people Happy New Year, right? When does that stop becoming a thing? I think you can roll that into the first couple weeks.
Right.
So we've identified 8 weeks or 2 months of really no excuse, easy time. There is no script. I just wanted to call and wish you happy holidays. I mean, That is the easiest script ever. So
I think you're focusing on something so good, and that is that this is about mindset.
Oh, it is. I agree. Yep.
It's because I'll say my one buddy who is so overwhelmed, he's starting to have like road rage.
Yep.
Like he's really burdened right now. That's not all of us.
Right.
The rest of us who say I'm too busy to prospect, it's time to start recognizing that it's a mindset, right?
Yep.
It's too early. It's too late. I was busy. My dog had a hangnail. Like, I want you to start catching yourself. Yeah. And if you had this relentless mindset, this unstoppable mindset that said, I have extraordinary service to offer, and I have got to make sure everybody knows, because I would feel so terrible that if they didn't know that I could help them during COVID, or that I have good skills, or that I have really great insight, or have a really strong process for competing, if I didn't let them know and they just Googled it and tripped over some newbie who happens to be paying for Zillow leads, it's my fault.
Yep.
So I hope we all recognize that it's on us to educate people about our service. And that's just absolutely a vital part of what we do. And donuts is my favorite analogy, right? If you opened up a bakery and you didn't have a storefront and you didn't have a sign and you didn't run ads, how would anyone ever know to buy your donuts?
Right.
So this is your advertising, right? And maybe you also post on social, but maybe you run ads in the paper, not really so much of a thing anymore. But usually it's social and picking up the phone. So you catch yourself saying, I didn't have time. I didn't know what to say. It was too early. It was too late. I'm too busy. Maybe I repeated myself. Just know that you're making that up. Because if you're too busy to prospect, you're too busy to be in real estate.
Well, yeah. And you're going to find yourself with too much time on your hands.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're going to be like, oh, gosh, now I need to really work the phones or, do 10 open houses this week to, find that buyer because I have nothing in the pipeline and it's winter time. And we know it's going to be harder in the winter in most of our markets. It always is. It always slows down in the winter. And I am not convinced that our spring being pushed into summer and summer maybe into fall, I'm not counting on that being pushed into winter. Mm-hmm. I'm just not. It's going to be a very interesting winter. Are more people going to leave cities because outdoor dining is going to end? You can't do that even with heaters when it's freezing. I mean, right? And everybody is cooped up. You don't want to be cooped up, and especially in these downtown areas where, I'm sitting in a building that I share with 300 other people. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be here for the winter, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be pushing the same elevator button as they are. Because there's not going to be anything for me to do here, right? There's no outdoor dining. There's no, there's nothing open. There's just So I'm out. And you wonder how many others, are going to be feeling that way. And we just don't know. So I think, what's funny is that most agents like to talk to people. They're extroverted.
True.
And they don't like the phone. And I had somebody yesterday say, I'm not afraid of the phone, but I still don't make my calls.
Okay.
And because, sometimes it is that fear of what to say and everything else. And I mean, this woman could sell, what do they say, ice to Eskimos, right? I mean, she's very skilled. And so we set up, an accountability partner, and, she's going to text me every day when her hour of power is done. So she recognizes the problem.
Sure.
And this particular person is paying for leads, and, she's not following up on them. And she reported to me this morning that she had 3 conversations and one of the people had already purchased. Now, would that have been her buyer? Who knows, right? No. But it's always a painful exercise when you go back through your old Zillow, Realtor, Boomtown, whatever leads, right? And you come across people that already purchased.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, maybe that could have been me, or, whatever. So I think, sharing.
Oh, what?
I was just going to say, share with your spouse, share with your friend, share with your broker, share with me. It doesn't matter. What's your goal? How many conversations do you want to be having per weekday? And I'm often challenging the folks in group coaching, because the number of conversations they want to have in a week is often dictated by whim, by feeling. Well, 10's a good number. And it's like, well, what's your business plan say?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I was talking to somebody this morning, and she's behind, and her goal is, it's a very high goal. It's like 100 conversations between now and next week. And I said, is that realistic? And she said, well, I'm going to try, right? Because I'm behind, and I did the math. And if I want to get this many units between now and this other time, this is what I need to do. So I appreciated that she did the math, right? Yeah. Using about 40 conversations to get to one sale. And it's like, well, if you're only doing 10 a week, then you're getting one sale a month. Is that really what you want? Right. I think they're assuming that they're still going to have the usual fall in their lap stuff.
Sure.
Right. But 10 conversations a week, I mean, it's 2 a day. I mean, is that going to get you the new bathroom? Is that going to get you the Tesla? Is that going to put your kids through college? Or are you going to look back and wonder if maybe you squandered it, right? I mean, if you did, 6, 7, 8 a day, I mean, is that too much? I don't know. I think it depends on how much money you want to make, but
you're making a perfect point, is that math will guide us, right?
Math should guide us. And then I think the accountability piece is really important. We need to be telling somebody, hey, it's really important that I make this many telephone calls every day, or have this many conversations, or have this many appointments.
Yep.
We're focused often a lot on calls and conversations, but we know that the goal is the appointment.
Yeah.
Right. And I often tell a client, listen, if you got an appointment a day, how would that change your life? Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe some people, and I challenged one client, I said, you keep calling till you get an appointment. Don't be focused on conversations and calls, right? It's till you book an appointment, right? And the light bulb went off. So talk to, where are you with this? Do you feel strongly about the accountability piece as well? The more people that know what your goal is, and sharing with your spouse, hey, it's really important that, I have my 10 conversations a day. Will you ask me about it? Your broker, your real estate partner, whoever it is. I just think a lot of times we internalize this stuff, and then, we know that those that are held accountable achieve more.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally think so. I think the challenge there is, though, that if you haven't come to a commitment within you, you're asking a lot of your accountability people to somehow browbeat you into this. And so I think we could just address, what is it that we're trying to accomplish, and why are you resisting? And people say all the time, I want to be pretty. And I say, please don't. So we're not forcing donuts on people, right? We're advertising the loveliness and the quality of our donuts, and those who want donuts will come, right? The difference, even with a product like a donut and a house, is people really don't buy or sell houses because you talk them into it.
Mm-hmm.
When they're ready, when it's a good time, hopefully they remember about your service. And that's the reason it's so vital that you stay in community with them, you stay in communication with them, you educate them about their options, whatever it is, home improvement, refinance. You are their partner in the home ownership journey, so that when that time comes, they think of you. Or when they overhear someone talking about their real estate needs, they think of you. So I think it's absolutely vital that you wrap your head around a belief that you have good service. And if you're relatively new, that you can develop good service.
Mm-hmm.
Because for good or ill, the real estate career is one that you sort of jump in. You just jump in with both feet and you learn as you go, right? So you've really got to be a little bit brave about trying. I've looked for a perfect statistic that says what percentage of people move every year, and I've kind of had to make one up, because I found quite a few reports that said the annual move rate is 12% in the US, and that includes tenants.
Right.
And then, you and I both, Charlie, coach people on farming that if a farm has 6 or 7% turnover, that's healthy. So I'm thinking between that 7 and 12, we've got about 10%.
Yep.
This is my made up number.
Right.
10% of all people can probably be counted on to move every year. So when you start calling people in your phone, when you start calling past clients, friends, former coworkers, friends of coworkers, whoever these people are that you have contact information for, know that 9 of them will say, I'm not interested in any real estate information. I don't need help. I'm not going to move. 9 out of 10 will say that. So when you make 3 calls and all 3 go, good to hear from you. Yeah, don't know anybody. And you start to feel like, oh, it's not working. Amy and Charlie are full of crap.
Mm-hmm.
9 of them are going to say no, and that's
right.
what you should expect. So conflict arises even within ourselves when expectations differ. So if you knew that you need to have 10 conversations to get to that yes, and even, in normal sales, like it was Tommy Hopkins who said it takes 24 no's or 25 no's to get the yes.
Mm-hmm.
So figure out what you're going to talk about. I love your suggestion. Ask them how homeschooling is going. Ask about how they're surviving COVID. Ask them how they're enjoying the fall. It doesn't matter. And if you have a mess to clean up, meaning you have not been in communication for a long time, you don't have to talk about real estate.
Right.
You can just say, it's been a ridiculous amount of time and I couldn't let another day pass. How are you surviving COVID?
Yeah.
Chat,
there you go.
Get off the phone.
Yep.
So you're not required to ask for business. Eventually, you need to be sending them a newsletter. Hooray for Remax Allegiance agents that they have a resource where they can just pay to have that delivered. I have a postcard system. They hear from me every month, but they need to hear from you. They need to know what service you offer. They need to know that you have special protocols for helping them during COVID. They don't attend the meetings that we do about state guidelines have changed or what's happening now, or in my situation, multiple offers. If somebody's thinking that they might want to buy or sell, they have no idea. And if I'm not putting videos out on social or sending them my update, they don't know. So convince yourself that you have a service to offer, and then do the math on how many conversations. And Charlie, I've been caught with this where I say call.
Yep.
Many calls, and then my clients get really my coaching clients get uncomfortable, and they'll say, I text people, and I say, oh, sorry, texting is fine.
Yep.
If we're texting back and forth, if we're using Messenger, whatever it is, as long as it's a back and forth conversation, texting's fine by me. So figure out how many conversations about real estate you need to have in order to hit your goals. And you said 40 to 1, right? Yep. If you have 40 conversations, you're probably going to get to a closing. And it's not perfect math. It's not the first 40, but you need to be having. So if you want a closing a week, you need to be having 40 conversations a week. That's 8 a day. Who do you talk to? Open house attendees, FSBOs, expired, former clients, current clients, people that you know from every walk of life, right? Find the time. And I appreciate what you said about accountability, but I think for a lot of us who are sensitive types, who are afraid that we're being salesy and pushing a product, I really want to convince you that you have a service to offer and they need to know about it. So then you can have some accountability, and maybe your accountability buddy has a fighting chance of holding you to it.
I like that. So you and I attended the Tom Ferry Summit when was it, a month ago now? Over a month ago.
Yeah.
And Tom got on and spoke to us early last week, I think, the week before, something like that. He said, I didn't know the answer. I felt like such a dunce. But he said, we had these top 12 agents on to talk about their business over the 3 days. What did they all have in common?
I know, I didn't know it either.
And I'm like, and he's like, it's obvious. What did they have in common? I'm thinking, shoot, I'm an idiot. But I'm glad I wasn't the only idiot. So he said they prospect. They talk to the most people. The agents that talk to the most people win.
Yep.
And it's so true.
Yep.
Right. So that needs to be the mindset. And if you don't talk to anybody right now, start somewhere. Right. Yep. I'm not saying you need to go from 0 to 100 in a week, but start somewhere. So this was a really good conversation this morning. Hopefully it's going to motivate some people to get into action. Any closing thoughts? Two
options. Call every single person that you have contact information for and say, how the heck are you surviving this year? And don't ask them about real estate. That's an option.
Yep.
Option 2, call them and ask them if they're fascinated to know their home's new value, because holy guacamole, have homes gone up in value. Yep. So either one, it'll be a win.
I like it. Amy, always good to see you.
You too.
Have a good rest of the day. We'll see you soon. Take care.